More than a century after its tragic end, the Titanic is still sharing its secrets with, among others, our own ship Reid.
In the movie Titanic, the characters played by Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet spent some intimate moments in her elegant suite. This looks familiar.
Yes, well, this is the first class suite from the Titanic, from the 1997 movie, Titanic.
Blockbuster movie.
Blockbuster movie.
That movie set now resides at the National Geographic Museum in Washington, D.C. These are the actual props from the movie.
The actual props from the movie.
And there are plenty of real artifacts here, too. Catherine Keene, National Geographic's Vice President for Public Experiences, says the focus of the exhibit is the meaning and the mystery of the ill-fated ship. Well, no mystery here. That's a deck chair.
That's a deck chair. Fascinating artifact. One of only 7 that still exists. The crew of the Titanic were just throwing these things overboard, hoping that the passengers in the water might have something to hold on to.
The exhibit tells the stories of Titanic's heroes, like Wallace Hartley and his 8-person band, who played until the very end.
His body was recovered with this beautiful music pouch, and it was full of some of the music that you see. Is this
the actual music he was carrying?
The actual music that he was carrying when he was recovered from the site.
Of the 2,200 people on the Titanic, more than 1,500 died, including 47-year-old John Jacob Astor, the wealthiest person on board.
This was the watch he wore with him everywhere.
His 18-year-old wife, who wore this life preserver, survived. Why did he not survive?
Well, it's a sad story, but he was on the wrong side of the ship. On the side of the ship that he was on, they were only allowing women and children into
So he was
lifeboat.
denied a seat on a lifeboat, even though there was a seat, because he was a man.
That's correct.
For the time being, I shall require only women and children.
It was a horrifying 2 hours and 40 minutes before the Titanic disappeared beneath the waves. It then plunged more than 2 miles to the bottom of the Atlantic, where it rested unseen by human eyes for 73 years.
This is it!
But the sinking of the Titanic is no less mind-boggling than the discovery of its wreckage. In 1985, oceanographer and Naval Reserve Commanding Officer Robert Ballard stunned the world when he found the Titanic. But how he did it remained a highly classified U.S. government Cold War secret for decades. We met Ballard at National Geographic to hear the Titanic's untold story. You did a number of very top secret naval missions during the Cold War.
I was a naval officer, yes.
Can you talk about them? Not at all?
No.
Only this one?
Only one be declassified.
The story of finding the Titanic starts in 1982 when Ballard was developing his own remotely operated underwater vehicle. Unable to get science grants, he asked Deputy Chief of Naval Operations Ronald Thunman if the Navy would help fund his project.
He said, all my life I wanted to go find the Titanic. And I was taken aback by that. I said, well, come on, this is a serious top secret operation. Find the Titanic, that's crazy.
Thunman said yes, but only if Ballard used the funds and the time to find 2 missing U.S. nuclear submarines, the Thresher and the Scorpion, that sank in the Atlantic in the 1960s.
So it was a deal. You'll let me do what I want to do, and if I'll do what you want to do.
This sounds like the real hunt for Red October.
Very similar.
The focus of this mission was to find the Scorpion.
They didn't want anyone else to find it.
Like the Russians?
Yes.
This was a really top secret mission.
It was very top secret.
Above top secret, I'm sure.
And so I said, well, let's tell the world I'm going after the Titanic.
The top secret part of the mission took longer than Ballard expected, so when he found the Scorpion and was finally free to look for the Titanic, he only had 12 days left. But his experience finding the Scorpion had been invaluable.
I learned something from mapping the Scorpion, that taught me how to find the Titanic. Look for its trail of debris.
So you found it in 8 days, basically.
Yeah.
Because
And people had taken 60 days and not found it. I did it in 8.
And how much time did you have left when you
4.
found? You had 4 days left.
To film it.
And you couldn't go beyond that 4 days.
No, someone else had rented the ship.
That was it.
They didn't care.
Ballard still vividly remembers that moment when he first set eyes on the Titanic. But he also remembers how the mood suddenly changed.
We realized we were dancing on someone's grave, and we were embarrassed. And the mood, it was like someone took a wall switch, went, and we became sober, calm, respectful, and made a promise to never take anything from that ship and to treat it with great respect.
Because that was like grave robbing.
It was like going, you don't go to Gettysburg with a shovel, and you don't take belt buckles off the Arizona.
Catherine Keene says it's that sense of respect for the Titanic and its victims that gives it its timeless quality. Why do you think, after all these years, people are still so fascinated with the Titanic?
I think there are lessons from the Titanic that we are somehow still compelled to want to hear. We're always pushing the boundaries of technology and exploration, but the story of the Titanic reminds us that there are great risks and tragedies that accrue to those ambitions. And there are also great stories of heroism and survival in this story that give us hope that maybe somehow we'll learn as a species from our mistakes.